What's up, everybody? It's LG Doucette here, and welcome to the Milk Road Degen podcast, the bi-weekly crypto show that tempts you with the irresistible fruit of mid to low cap to micro cap assets. I'm your host, LG Doucette, and this is our inaugural episode. And if you followed me for a long time, I'm back on the air. Sorry to say, but I'm back. And if you love Milk Road and all the things they do, then I hope you're going to like this show because we have a lot of great stuff lined up for you. Some fantastic guests, some great chatter. And today we're kicking off the show with like a living legend in the space, a guy who was an absolute demon of a trader in the 2021 run and quit that life to build something far bigger than his NFT P&L. OSF is in the studio and he's coming to the show momentarily. We're going to talk about his views on the market. Listen, it's Tuesday, August 19th. We're all wondering what's going to happen. Are we going up or down? Are all these secret liquidations in ETH actually going to happen? Or are we just going to pump back up tomorrow? Who knows? And he's going to give us his thoughts on that. He's going to give us his advice as well for people who want to become degens, people that are looking at all this stuff, wondering, what am I buying? Is it time to get in on this little thing, this little 200K cap coin that somebody told me about or not? How do I do that kind of stuff? And then he's going to tell us about the company he built, the absolute beast in the space, the token that we flagged in the newsletter 2 months ago, REKT, as something that could run up, and it did, and it's going to continue. So he's going to tell us all about that on the show. And before we get to him and bring him out here, he's in the studio, he's in the background. Before we get to that, a quick message. Listen, guys, this is our first show. Okay, so if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. Come on, hit that like button, drop a comment, tell me what you thought of the show, tell me what you think of my background or the hair I've got, anything, please. But that will help us tremendously because starting from scratch on a brand new channel is challenging. And if you're listening to this in a podcast feed, God, listen, 5-star rating, listen, we need it. Okay. I need you to tell me what you think of my voice or just of the content of the show or whatever it is. And a little review would mean the world to us, helps us grow a lot when we're starting from scratch. And like every Milk Road show, we are so happy to be actually supported by a sponsor. So a quick shout out to HBOX. It's the token behind Hitbox Games. And their first game actually drops before the token does. Pretty rare in GameFi. So the pre-sale link is down below if you want to take a peek, or you can just go to milkroad.com/swords of blood. Shout out Hitbox Games. So, okay, that's enough. Enough of me just talking to myself. Let's get him out here. Yo, OSF, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going? Pleasure to be on the first show.
That was a long. I thank you for listening to that for 3 minutes.
All good.
Me just yelling. Okay, wait. What does OSF mean? This is something where it's like everybody talks about you in the space, but I don't think anybody's ever actually asked you about the acronym of your name.
OSF are actually just my initials, so it's not as exciting as as people think it is. Sadly.
Okay. That's. I mean, I use my first two initials as my like stage name. So respect to that. But I feel like that's nice. You kind of carve out a nice niche for yourself as a brand. Did you have any other like names in mind when you decided to have a handle? Was that your name in like AOL chat rooms 20 years ago? Like where did that? Why did you choose that though?
I don't know. Like I've been like on the internet for a very long time, and I've had lots of different pseudonyms on the internet.
What else have you had? What else can you share with us?
Oh, there's some rogue ones. I don't even know if I want to share them. I don't know where they are. I'll need to like internet search them first.
Everybody has an embarrassing first Hotmail address or first like ICQ exactly. Or MSN Messenger or whatever it is. Like everybody's got an embarrassing one.
But when I set up my Twitter account, I didn't expect it to be something I would spend a lot of time on. So I just did it really quickly. I was just like OSF, like whatever. I thought I'd be on it for like 1 week. And, like if I could go back, I would change. I would have a cooler handle, but I guess OSF is what it is now. I can't really.
What would you have?
Go back.
What would you have? No.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, just something different. Like, I can't think off the top of my head, but something like pretty random. Like a cool animal or something like that. Like, Scary Tiger 69 or something like that.
There's no way. Listen, people are discovering what REKT is and they're like, oh, it's a cool drink brand. Maybe I should buy that. And they're like, who's the founder? And it's Scary Tiger 69. I don't know. I don't know if that would work in like, pitch meetings or you're pitching 7-Eleven or whatever. I don't
No,
know
I
if
don't think so.
they'd be as into that's Scary Tiger 69. That's a screen name from like the late 90s. That's definitely something.
Yes.
I've met Scary Tiger 69 many times in chat rooms or wherever we were. Forums. But dude, so yeah, you joined. I hate talking about origin stories. We used to do that all the time. I think people know you and they don't need to dive into that. But I do want to talk about like your actual social presence because you only joined Twitter in like March 2021, I think. That's what it says there. Yeah.
Pretty much
okay, so
March 2021.
You had no presence there.
Yeah, zero presence until March 21. Yep.
But before that, you were just like a TradFi trader, correct?
Just a TradFi trader, yeah.
I don't know. Not just, but you know what I mean.
I'd done it for about 10 years before that. But yeah, I hadn't.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I hadn't. I was also new to crypto as well. So crypto, I first bought Bitcoin in Jan 21, and then got onto Twitter in March. So completely new to that world for sure.
Why? I'm curious, because that was like such an inflection point. I think a lot of people from traditional finance came in, but it's also like it's impossible for you to not have heard about Bitcoin and all, even Ethereum and everything else prior to that. Like, what kept you away? Rather than like everybody's got like a red pill moment, but what kept you? What was the blue pill? Like, what you must have heard about it so many times, and what happened there?
For a long time, I just thought it was a scam, like every TradFi person, because there's no, when you're in TradFi, you get taught ways in which to value things, model driven, fundamental driven, etc., technical driven. There was nothing to really value Bitcoin, so I never really understood the value. But then like in 2017, people were saying you should buy ETH, you should buy Bitcoin. So I actually tried to buy crypto, but I couldn't get KYC'd on my Coinbase account or something, and then it didn't work. So I basically ended up not buying anything, and then everything crashed in 2018. So I was like, okay, that's a blessing in disguise. I was right.
Thank God.
And then, and then I didn't even think about it until 2020, really, until COVID. And everyone was like, now's the time to buy Bitcoin, etc. When everything crashed, and I just bought stocks because stocks were down a lot, and I didn't feel like I needed to buy crypto. But that's when I started like actually paying attention to crypto. I was like, okay, I'm kind of understanding this a bit more now. And yeah, by the time I got to January 2021, I just convinced myself to buy Bitcoin. So. Obviously I wish I bought it in 2017, but I wasn't ready for it. I got Bitcoin at the price I deserved.
I like that. The price you deserve is how tied is crypto to like traditional finance now though? Right? Because you've got all the institutions buying in, and this is something you talk about on Milk Road all the time. But you see, I feel like I see more tweets now that are like, hey, like the NASDAQ's up, but Bitcoin's down. People are like confused when they don't move together now more than, whereas prior, like even 2021, people are like, when Bitcoin be up and all the other stuff be down, be like, yeah, this is why we have crypto. But now it's like, I find it's the opposite, but I want your view on it. I feel like you've got a lot more depth there.
Yeah, I think it's actually always been somewhat correlated, especially to NASDAQ, but the correlation is even stronger now because you have products that can be traded by TradFi people where they don't need to hold crypto, like ETFs. You now have all these crypto stocks and digital asset treasuries and all that kind of stuff. So it's super correlated, and you'll have moments of outperformance, you'll have moments of underperformance, just like you will with any two stocks within the NASDAQ, or stocks versus credit and etc. So there'll be moments where it will deviate, but generally speaking, I think it's a risk asset now. Crypto is a fully fledged risk asset. I mean, you can put it in your 401k now, so it's gonna have correlation for sure.
Isn't that kind of twisted? 401ks for crypto,
mental, right? It's like, crazy.
What else is it? What else is it a 401k? Because it's something else. It's like, I'm Canadian, man. Like, I don't even understand what that is. Like, we have a totally different investment vehicle here from the government.
Yeah.
Like, so what else is it? What else is usually in there? I mean, most people listening to the show probably already know, but is this crypto like stand out like insanely from what else is in a 401k? Does it fit right in there with whatever other ETFs and stuff?
Yeah, 401k is traditional assets really. So it's like equities, bonds. To have crypto actually as an asset in the 401k in the form of crypto, so not just necessarily like an ETF, is pretty big. I think it's pretty big. Just imagine that there's so many different like vehicles that will invest in stuff that's correlated or associated with 401ks and retirement accounts and all that kind of stuff, like pension funds. Pension funds are massive. You know, if any of these big asset managers start allocating even 1% to crypto, it's going to move the needle a huge amount, I think.
Is that the end of the cycles? I saw you tweet that the other day.
The end of the cycle. I don't
or
really
the end of cycles, like because you said we might be of cycles. The idea of cycles. I think that's like, honestly, you know, kind of just judging from the general chatter of, I mean, obviously it's mainly just crypto Twitter, but just like obviously everyone's got these models from like, hey, okay, look, here's what happened in 2021. Here's what's happening with rate cuts next month. And I feel like the general consensus, right, is like, okay, we've got one more big pump in the fall and then we're done. And I don't even know what people mean by that. Like, is it, okay, Bitcoin's going to go back down, you know, do another 70% drop. We eat shit for 2 years and we come back, you know, starting with the halving and the election and everything. Clearly you disagree to some points. I'm just setting that up, but I want your viewpoint there.
I do think it's the end of cycles. Like, I think, you know, maybe not for altcoins, but definitely for Bitcoin, in my opinion. I just think it's now way too institutionalized. There's a ton of capital that's waiting to come in. Not to mention the US might potentially start buying Bitcoin. It's moving from being a retail game to an institutional game to a sovereign game. I think Bitcoin is just going to move with, you know, the overall market, and I think it is going to be the end of like the 4-year cycles. Like, I'm very bullish actually on risk assets for the next few years, and I think crypto is going to go along with that. I think you're not going to see the traditional 4-year cycle thing, unless, like, you know, there's some crazy blow up and we have another 3AC or FTX, and you can't ever discount those factors, you know, because there's always so much leverage in the system when people get greedy, and there's definitely a lot of leverage in crypto at various points. So you could have like a big reset at some point, but generally speaking, I think those dips get bought very quickly, and we continue to progress a lot higher, is my view.
You know, they did have the Robinhood guy on the cover of Forbes, which is like the new potential curse. So you never know.
Exactly.
You never know. It's like the I don't know if you ever follow like EA Sports or anything like that, but usually when they put like an athlete on the cover of the video game, that athlete would suffer a horrific injury that following year. So I feel like that happens to us on a regular cycle. When you say risk assets over the next couple of years, what do you mean? Do you mean specifically like just the majors? Is that what you consider a risk asset, or are we talking like further down?
Yeah, so risk assets, I would say, include stuff like equities, crypto. Okay. Crypto is further down the spectrum. Within crypto, it can be, you know, you have Bitcoin, you have majors, and then you have altcoins, which are even further down the spectrum. But I would say like risk assets are anything like equities down to crypto, and then, you know, a non-risky asset would be something like fixed income, so bonds, government bonds, corporate bonds. I would say that they're not risk assets.
So is this a good time? And obviously we just started the podcast, but is this a good time for there's always new people coming into crypto, right? And we haven't had the same like retail wave this time, like we did with NFTs, right? Which brought you and me in. Well, I don't know, NFTs didn't bring you in, but clearly it's something you gravitated towards. Is this like, I feel like a lot of people are still pretty risk on in the market, hoping for more pumps and more upward to come. Is this a time that you feel people should be risk on, especially at this time in the market where, you know, you had a near ETH all-time high last week, you had a Bitcoin all-time high last week, and now we're kind of seeing a little retrace. And obviously I'm asking both like short-term, like daily, and slightly longer term, a couple months. What is your, you know, if somebody was coming in right now, do you think this is a time where they should go splashing around to risky assets or be sidelined?
I think you should be risk on now. Yeah. Like, I think crypto's had a bit of a pullback from its highs, so it's a good point to add risk. I would always advise to, you know, average your cost in. So DCA. So like, you know, buy a bit now, save a bit to buy more if it goes lower, buy a bit more if it goes lower. But I don't think it's a time to be sidelined. I just think the fundamental drivers of crypto have changed significantly, and there's a lot to look forward to. And I think there's a lot to look forward to in the macro standpoint as well. We're probably going to have rate cuts. We are going to have rate cuts in next month. And then, the thing about rate cuts is everyone says, oh, they're priced in, but they're not. Like, if you're an asset allocator and you have a ton of money in fixed income right now, you hold it in there until that interest rate drops. And when it drops, then you move it into riskier assets, as we were talking about before. So rate cuts are never priced in. The impact is only felt when they actually happen. So I don't think it's the time to be sidelined. And I think people suffer from PTSD, they think about what happened 2 years ago. They have that experience of round tripping, etc. And that's fine. And I think, you can and should take profits, but you don't have to sell your entire bag and just have nothing, and I think, if you got in 2023, even at some points in 2024, even some points this year, you could be up quite a lot. And I would for sure advocate taking profits. But that being said, I'm still very bullish, and I think we have a lot higher to go. And I think it's just a case of being patient here for sure.
I want to ask you which asset in crypto you're most bullish on that isn't REKT. But first, before we get to that spicy answer, a word from our sponsor. All right, a quick break to talk about HitBox Games and their token HBOX, which is on presale right now. So this token basically powers all of their games, the first of which is Sword of Blood, which has already been tested by 50,000 players and has had a pretty good retention rate of 41%. And the game is actually out before the token comes out. So you're kind of de-risking. You go try the game before you decide to buy this token, but it launches very soon, and there's only 50 million tokens that are going to be live at launch. And there's a long vesting for the investors and the original people in there to kind of reduce that sell pressure. So the pre-sale is on now. Go to milkroad.com/swords of blood to support them and support the show. Okay, OSF, tell me, man, out of everything that there is out there, and you can say Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever, but the further away from the majors you get with this answer, the spicier it is, the better it is for us. And you can't say REKT, obviously, because that's you're putting all your effort into that. But out of everything you've seen out there, what if you had to pick something for the next month, 6 months, 2 years, that's the horse? What are you picking?
I would say, so if I picked a major, I would say ETH. I think a lot of institutional money is going to keep coming into ETH, and it's going to correct versus Bitcoin quite substantially, I think. So that's what I'd say for the major. And if I would dip down into altcoins, etc., I would say Hyperliquid. I just think Hyperliquid is an amazing, great business. I think eventually it's going to get bought by Coinbase or something like that. I think they've just built an amazing moat around it. So that would be my second pick. That's not a major.
How do you choose when to sell something like that? Either one, like something like ETH. What's your target, or how do you actually, what's your framework for holding something like that? Because I'm assuming, TradFi mindset, you want to be holding long term. You're not as much of a trencher anymore. Maybe you are in the background, I don't know. But something like ETH is obviously not something that you're trading on a daily basis. How do you set that up for something where you're thinking about there's not going to be traditional cycles anymore? Institutions are buying ETH, ETFs are buying ETH. So I think Starlink bought another 600 million overnight or something. I just briefly saw that before we started recording. How do you decide when to offload some of it?
Yeah, look, I think you have to set yourself price targets. At the end of the day,
how do you choose the price target when you're expected to blow past all-time high? That's what I'm saying is everywhere you look for ETH, it's there's nowhere going past 5K, and everyone's 20K minimum this cycle. How do you? And that's the range.
I think a lot of it depends on why you're investing in the first place. Are you investing or trading to make a change in your life? If you're trying to make a change in your life, is there a certain number you're trying to get to in order to make that change? If there is, then your profit target should be centered around that. If it's okay, I really want to make X so I can quit my job. Once you make X, sell it and take it and quit your job. Don't just keep holding it and then end up round tripping and then you haven't changed your life, right? So I think sometimes if it's that's your motive for trading, then your price targets are actually not necessarily to do with where you think it can go. It's more to do with the money that you need to make or want to make in order to make a change in your life. Now, if you're investing because you just, want to invest, then it's harder to think of price targets, I think. And they can be arbitrary though. You know, like I personally have very arbitrary price targets. I'd be like, okay, 25%, 50%, 100%. Another good thing to do is like maybe benchmark it to Bitcoin. Bitcoin has outperformed everything in the last 2 years. So you can look at ETH BTC, and right now it's below 0.04. The highest it got to was 0.08. So if you have a very strong view that ETH is going to outperform, like I do, then 0.08 ETH versus BTC is a level where I would start to take some profits, and then every 10% move or 20% move higher, take a bit more off. That's generally how I think I would think about it.
Something like Hyperliquid, which clearly you're very bullish on. I like that take that one of the larger exchanges could buy them or make some kind of move like that. Obviously, Hyperliquid was something that I saw mentioned many times for 2 years, and I'm not very good at perp trading, so I didn't really participate, despite knowing that I probably should. And I know they had meme coins, and I just didn't get on there. And naturally, that's been one of the best airdrops you could have ever participated in, and you could have bought at almost any point in time before today and be up massively. That to me also speaks as like a bit of a narrative play, right? Where obviously that's turned from being a narrative from the bear market into something much bigger, and now a top 20 token with still a lot of upward trajectory. Is that something that was on your radar in the past? And because I do want to, before we talk REKT, I do want to talk about just like narrative spotting in general as something where degens are trying to get good at that, and I'm trying to get better at it every day. So I'd love to get your take there on if Hyperliquid is something you spotted in the past, and your general kind of framework for finding things like that might become as big as they are now.
I completely missed Hyperliquid. Actually, I was very, very late to it.
You were building a company. That's different. Yeah, I feel like you were busy. Yeah, you got busy at that time.
You know what's funny? One of the Hyperliquid core contributors, actually, we've been chatting to them because we now have REKT on Hyperliquid spot. But I went through my DMs, and 2 years ago, this guy DM'd me saying, "Hey, we've made this new DEX called Hyperliquid. Do you want to give it a go?" And I completely just blanked him, basically. Yeah, my take on Hyperliquid, I completely missed it at the beginning because there's lots of perp dexes out there. Like there's perp dexes that have been around for a while, and I just thought it was another perp dex. Didn't quite get it. Now I realize that, like, number one, it's a very good product. Number two, it's a product that's completely the opposite of extractive. Like 97% of the fees go back into buying the token, etc. And number three is a very it's a very crypto thing. It's very like anti-centralized exchange. There's no like, it's all decentralized, right? So if you want to get a ticker onto it, you can participate in the auction and then, bridge the token over. There's no like centralized, there's no corruption or anything like that. It's very, very pure. And I think there are very few things like that in crypto. And that's why I think people have gotten behind it in such a diehard way. And that's the thing, like the best performing things in crypto are cults. They're things where people just believe in it, head over shoulders, and almost to the point where they don't even care about making the money. They just believe in the message. And Hyperliquid is definitely one of them. Like people stand by it. So for a while I was like, why is everyone so, so aggressively like behind Hyperliquid? And now like I finally get it, I think. So I think it's something quite special, but it's taken me a while to realize that. But over time, I think people will realize it. And, the other thing about Hyperliquid, it's a very good sort of like volatility proof business. It actually does better in volatility because there's more liquidations, it makes more fees. Yeah, not something that was like immediately obvious to me, but took me a while to understand. And now I feel like I'm on board with it.
What was something that was immediately obvious to you? And it can be further back from the last cycle.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I was quite early into WIF, and that one was really, really like obvious to me because I'd missed Solana. I missed the whole Solana run up.
Yeah.
Then I'd missed Bonk.
Yeah.
But seeing that move in Solana and then seeing that move in Bonk, I was like, shit, like, there's going to be something else. There has to be something else. There isn't, it never just stops at these two. And if you remember NFTs, it was like you had the whole one of ones, and then you had punks, and then apes were obvious to me because, I was like, this could be the other thing that people go for. So for WIF, I was like, this is just so obvious because there was already a ton of mindshare behind it. You could see it was sort of like the most liked meme out of all the other memes, and it was clear to me something was going to run, parallel to bonk. So that's when I went, pretty deep into quite early, because I just felt like it was an obvious trade, from the first time I saw it, really.
Is there anything like that right now besides REKT? REKT, you can't say
apart
REKT.
from REKT. Sometimes I feel like ETH is like that, Sometimes I really do feel like ETH is like that. I know it doesn't sound sexy, but you have so much of TradFi just aping in billions and billions of dollars into ETH right now. They're taking off a ton of supply from the market. I just don't see any way. I mean, maybe that slows down if they lose investor appetite, but I just don't see any way how that stuff doesn't keep going, I think. It's a different trade, because ETH isn't going to do 100x. Maybe it does 2 or 3x, but it does mean you can play it with larger size. So
this is a silly question. Why wouldn't ETH do 100x from here? Because the market cap would be like 10 trillion or something,
yeah,
right?
it would be crazy. Maybe one day it does. Maybe one day it does.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not. I mean, that's something maybe when we're old men, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, exactly.
You never know. Especially with inflation.
We'll do this again in 10 years. Yeah, we'll do this again in 10 years and see where it is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's already done that in 10 years or more.
Yeah, true.
Or already done, I guess, since that. I had bought some on that COVID dip, like that Black Friday one, like March 13th or whatever, when it was like $89. I bought some. Nice. Don't worry, I sold it at like 400. I was like a genius. I was like, wow. Yeah. So I just started doing this crypto thing. I'm so smart, at a nice 4x. Terrible idea. Okay. Okay, 2 more things I want to do with you, man. One, I do want to chat. I want to chat REKT, so we'll dive into that. And at the very end, we're going to do like a rapid fire hot seat session, okay, where you don't have time to think. You just have to answer me as quickly as possible. Nice. And it's going to be a bunch of really weird random questions. Okay, so let's talk about REKT. Obviously, we see the branding behind you. You guys have done tons of successful drops. We've covered you guys a few times in the newsletters, and I wanted to show you this. This is a little bit. This is mainly me just like reaching all the way and patting myself on the back. But way back when I started the newsletter from Milk Road Degen, let's look, July 9th. Okay, this is like our 5th newsletter. Let's just zoom in. These feel like the next billion-dollar meme coins. Sorry to call you a meme coin. And the first thing is REKT.
Nice.
And you guys were, here you go. Here you are. It didn't take much explaining, like why it could hit $1 billion. Killer branding, real world distribution, Web3 friendly ethos. You got all that stuff. And I think the cap was like 125 at the time.
Yeah.
So just gonna say, tuning into the news, the quick plug for the newsletter. We've got some hot alpha like that in there. Even things that sounded ridiculous at the time. Even I had to write that, and I was like, REKT's an obvious one. I'm gonna have to try and dig hard to find the other ones. Some of the other ones have done well, but REKT was the clear leader. You guys cracked half $500 million. It's about way more obviously than market cap. But obviously, showing that people are really excited, that traders are really excited about what you guys are doing. What can you tell us, if you gave us like kind of the cheat sheet right now in terms of the accomplishments of REKT up until this point in time, what would they be?
So since we started selling drinks back in October, we've sold about 760,000 cans. Our goal is to try and sell 1 million cans within 12 months of the first 12 months of operations. And that the last time a new company did that was Red Bull back in the 90s. So we're well on course to doing it. Only possible with crypto. We've done a bunch of collaboration drops with Abstract Chain, OpenSea, Jupiter Aggregator on Solana, Binance US. We just announced one with Base that's launching this week. And we have a lot more coming up as well. And we did our first store launch in 7-Eleven stores in LA a few weeks ago, and then obviously working on more store launches and distribution coming up in the traditional format, which we'll have more news on later this year. So quite a whirlwind from basically this time last year. There was nothing, like we hadn't even sold our first drink yet, and now we've just had this insane momentum. So it's definitely been quite the journey for sure.
Dude, what's the process to make a drink? How do you even do that?
I have zero experience in CPG, so it's been a massive learning curve for us. But First, you have to figure out what you want to make. So we were like sparkling water. Then you have to make the recipe for it. So, what flavors you want to have. You go into a lab, try different flavors. You tell them, add a bit of lime, remove a bit of pineapple, whatever it is, make it sweeter, make it saltier. And then once you settle on the final recipe, it has to go through like a testing phase to make sure it doesn't corrode the cans, etc. Then you have to order all the ingredients, create the mix, fill the cans, get the cans manufactured, go through quality control. Like it's a big process. And it's very time consuming and very resource intensive compared to most things you have to do in crypto, because it's a physical product that you have to make that is a consumable. So you have to go through, you have to, abide by various, different compliance hurdles to make sure it's like a safe thing to drink and there's no issues with it and that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a whole big operation for sure. But I think that's what makes it, it's what makes it special and also sort of like irreplicable, right? Like someone can't just wake up tomorrow and make a crypto drink, because they have to go through this entire process to do it. So
what's the big goal? What's the big dream for the brand?
I think we're not a drinks company doing crypto. We're a crypto company doing drinks. That's the way I view it. And we're a crypto brand. We're a crypto native brand. And REKT is more than just REKT drinks. I think REKT, it started with the REKT guy NFTs. REKT has a concept. It's a piece of culture that a lot of people can relate to and resonate with. We own the rekt.com domain now, and I think we can really start to like make REKT into a very recognizable brand. So the goal is that, something like Red Bull or Monster, they're not just drinks companies, right? That's the whole, unit and culture around it. And I would like to be the same thing. I think the history of brands has been like, here's a brick and mortar company. Then it moved over to here's an internet company. Then it moved over to social media. Here are the best social media, brands. And now I think the next stage and iteration of that is going to be crypto and Web3. And I want to make sure that REKT is the, at the frontier of that, basically.
So when you say it's going to be more than a drinks company and it's a crypto company making drinks, what does that mean? Because Red Bull is actually a really great comparison. I love that, they sold 1 million drinks in their first 12 months, and that's that you're trying to, hit that same benchmark. Red Bull obviously stands out as a content company, right?
Yep.
Like they have invented sports that didn't exist. And make them into spectacles. Like basically have created their own version of X Games all across the globe in so many different formats, and such an incredible array of content, and have really timed that with the social media content age of the last 15 years. So what is that for REKT?
Yeah, I think it's about figuring out what that exact content is, and I don't necessarily view us as a content company, not yet anyway, but I do view REKT as something a lot of people can identify with and relate to within the world of crypto. But I think that branches beyond crypto as well. So it's sort of like, it's something that people want to wear on their chest. It's like, hey, I got REKT. Like I've been REKT and I'm proud of it, or I can live with it, or I'm a survivor. Like I've been through 3 bear markets and I'm still standing, and I still have my REKT guy, my REKT coin. Like that's the kind of feeling behind it, really. And that's more than just the drinks. The drinks are just like one product that fits within that umbrella, if that makes sense. And we will have more than just drinks, as this thing grows, and we've been working on more stuff too. But it's mainly identity. I think people feel like this is where maybe it's different to Red Bull or Monster, because like REKT is, I feel like it's an identity. It's like I'm either REKT or I'm not. I'm part. It's more like a football team in Europe. Like football teams in Europe are like, people are diehard fans, like from birth. That's like their identity, right? And that's what I think REKT is. It's more of an identity.
You hinted at there's other things to come besides drinks. What are you hinting at? What can you do? What exclusive can you give to this podcast? Is there anything at all you can just wink at, or anything?
There's not too much I can give away, but we've been in product development of more products that aren't just sparkling waters, and more products that aren't just drinks, that hopefully we'll be launching before the end of the year. So stay tuned.
I don't think Red Bull ever made anything else besides drinks, but maybe I'm wrong. I have to check my Red Bull history. Maybe they have. Maybe they have other things. Is it okay? Well, can you tell us if they're consumables?
Yep, consumables.
Okay. So things we
Yeah.
can drink or eat or something
Yeah.
else. Okay. We'll take that. We'll take that. How can people get exposure? Because obviously there's the token, but I know that maybe you can just explain for people listening, maybe hearing about this for the first time, how the drops work with like the points and how that kind of all fits together.
Yeah. So usually right now we've been selling the drinks as limited edition drops. So usually you'll have an opportunity to buy a drop, you'll earn points for it, and then those points in the past have converted into REKT coin. So kind of like if you go to rekt.com, you can sign up to our mailing list and be notified via email for when we have more drops. You can follow REKT Drinks on X or on Instagram or TikTok, etc. for all the socials. But yeah, people have been earning REKT coin for purchasing drinks, and they've made a lot of money on it. So it's an interesting way, I think, to reward early supporters and early believers of the brand, basically.
So hold on. So you get points and tokens for when you buy the drinks, or how does that work?
You get points, and the points have converted to tokens in the past.
Okay, but they don't. Do they still do that?
Yeah, they will do in the future. Yeah,
they will in the future. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, can you pre-order these base ones?
Yeah. So base this one. Yeah, this one we're actually launching tomorrow.
Okay.
12 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. It's a smaller drop. This one, I think we're really going to have like about 900 units or so. And this one this is the first one we're doing without any rewards. But yeah, this one will go live tomorrow.
Okay, great. So this will go live shortly. I think after the podcast goes live. So if you're listening to this in the first like hour of the show, you still have time to get there before 12 Eastern. If not, I'm sure there'll be more drops. But dude, partnering with Base is pretty massive, man. Like, are these partnerships that you've facilitated? Do you have a team? How does that work? Because this is you're kind of checking off like every major brand in the space right now.
We have a pretty small team, right now we're 5 full-time people, and we were only 3 a couple of months ago. So most of these partnerships are either people reaching out to us or we reach out to people. But to be honest with you, like ever since we did the abstract collaboration, we've had a lot of people reach out to us. And I think the social engagement that we get from creating an in real life product with like, the partners branding on it is really, really big. And I think people are really into it. So we've had a lot of like big projects reach out to us, both in Web 2 and in Web 3. And I think, Base, I think, is one of the biggest ones we've done so far for sure. And we have a lot more big ones to come.
That's awesome, man. That's great. Well, congrats to you and the team. And you guys can check that out. REKT.com is probably the easiest way to do it, or you can follow them on X. Obviously, follow OSF as well. Okay, dude, we're going to wrap this out with like the quickest, like rapid fire question series that we can possibly do. It's something I want to start doing on the show. It's just an extra little way to get to know people and not give them time to really think. Okay, so are you ready? You have like literally like 5 seconds to, not even like 2 seconds to answer every single question. So OSF, are you ready for Milk Road Degen hot seat?
Let's do it.
Okay. Biggest risk that paid off?
Minting 150 Bored Apes.
Oh, what a flex. Biggest risk that got you wrecked? Not the drink, but like actually wrecked.
Buying way too much of a fake Trump coin.
Okay, personally, your best airdrop to date?
ApeCoin.
Worst airdrop?
What's the worst airdrop?
You know what? That's not as like a sexy question. Maybe one that you spent worst ROI in terms of like time spent.
Blast. Yeah. I spent way too much time on that for what I got.
Yeah, what a mess. Okay. Besides ETH or REKT, what is a token we should all be buying?
Hyperliquid.
A token that's way overhyped. Not to throw shade at anybody.
I'm a lover of all tokens. Nothing's overhyped.
Okay. Your fave influencer in the space?
Favorite influence in the space? I would say he's not really an influencer, but I would say Kobe. I think he's one of the coolest.
It's a pretty big name.
Yeah, coolest big accounts in the space. I think he would hate to be known as an influencer, so I don't want to throw that shade on him. But
smartest person that you know?
Probably Mando, I would say.
Okay, last meal before you die.
I'd have a curry for sure.
I thought you were going to say like a case of REKT.
Yeah, that's what I should have said.
Dude, well, listen, man, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, dude. Thank you so much for coming on the
Likewise.
show, and best of luck to REKT. Obviously, we're all watching and trying to get in on the drops, and been great to watch this grow. And I've always, I came into the space because I worked in marketing and branding for 10, 15 years. And when I looked into crypto and I realized some brands like the NBA were already here, I was like, holy shit, that's going to be the next thing. But then it became very obvious to me last cycle that I was like, we need native brands, not brands just trying to airdrop into here with their trying to sell us this repackaged IP that they have. I was like, we need native brands to be born out of this. Same way social media, the best social media brands like Mr. Beast are native social media brands and not brands that went over there. So, you're definitely, one of the front runners for that. You guys in Pengu are right there as the brand tokens that I think we all love and support and want to see do well. So best of luck to you, dude, in the future.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks a lot for having me.
Want updates from the trenches alongside the tokens we're trading? Sub to our channel, then join the Milk Road Degen and Degen Pro newsletters. This show's for educational purposes only. Nothing we say is financial advice. Investing is risky. Never invest more than you can afford to lose.